Another pristine Michigan lake, guys. Look how clear that is. Now let's talk about something that's a little less pleasant. Let's talk about the time I got sued for $1 million. I mentioned that in a previous video. And if you're being a boss, somebody might come for you. You're the king of the hill, someone might try to knock you down. So let's go into this a little bit. Some of the things that I thought, some of my approaches. Again, this isn't legal advice. I never went to law school. I'm not a lawyer. I just eat lawyers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if they try to bully me. So let's get into this. First of all, if you get sued and it's a legitimate claim, like you're infringing on trademarks, you're actually doing that, or you're selling knockoff iPhones or knockoff Nikes, like fake Nikes or something like that, or you owed somebody money and you didn't pay them back, those are legitimate lawsuits. That is not the case with a lot of these lawsuits that are popping out there that are going against resellers. A lot of these companies don't want people reselling the products because they feel like it messes up their distribution stream, and then they are suing these resellers essentially to bully them out of business, even though it's not a legitimate claim. And pretty much all these lawsuits have never went the distance. They always settle out of court. And because they do not want to get to a trial, they don't want really people even filing summary judgments on this. They don't want a judge to make a decision on it because it could really, embarrass them, and then they know that the outcome is probably not going to be favorable for them. The only time that any of these lawsuits against resellers, they're selling on eBay, Amazon, their own websites, have ever had any legitimacy or gained any sort of traction is if the person maybe made their own website and then the name of that company was in the domain of their website, like Levi Jeans Reseller or something like that.com. Then the companies have maybe gained a little bit of traction in that situation, but that was not the case with my situation. So I got served with this $1 million lawsuit. I knew it was BS. I was, obviously it was consuming all my mental energy, and there was a point where I was just like, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'd never even been in a courtroom before. The only time I'd ever been in a courtroom, actually, I take that back. I did have jury duty, but I did not get selected for it. I was in the overflow panel, and so that's the only time I was ever in a courtroom. So I had no idea about legal procedures. Didn't know what to do. But I did realize that on a lot of these types of lawsuits, what the lawyers were trying to do is mentally and financially exhaust a person. And usually if a person spends $10,000 or $15,000, maybe $20,000 on legal fees, they are exhausted and they will sign anything this other company wants them to sign. Well, since I realized that, I wasn't going to get a lawyer. They were going to be dealing with me. So there's advantages and disadvantages of that. You can represent yourself pro se. And again, this isn't legal advice. So you could either not answer the lawsuit. You could get a lawyer who is going to be almost worse than the other lawyers because they're going to be charging you probably $300 an hour continuously until this stupid lawsuit, can be settled or something. So that's not really a viable option for most people. Or you can represent yourself pro se. Now, they sued me in a court that was out of state, and guess what? I even found out that they had contributed to that judge's campaign in the last little election or whatever. So I was really fighting an uphill battle there. So what I ultimately decided to do after I started to learn the procedures better and stuff like that. And I know someone's going to comment, they'll say, well, you can remove it via jurisdiction and all that. Well, I tried to do that, and that didn't go favorable for me, so I was kind of stuck in that court. What I did is I treaded water in that court, and then I filed a completely different lawsuit in my home state so I could get them fighting on two fronts and engaging many, many, many lawyers and spending all of their resources. I estimate that they probably spent, just in legal fees, around $250,000 facing me. And I was spending my time, but guess what? I was billing them for my time. So, that's the approach that you have to take. But ultimately, the whole thing was very, very mentally taxing. I spent a lot of time. It was not worth it for the amount that I ended up settling for. Again, in this situation, you want to be signing the back of the check at the end of the time. So I was able to turn the tables on them and exhaust them, actually embarrass those lawyers. And I was really getting in their heads. It was kind of funny. I was always writing to lawyers saying, I'm very disappointed in you, and actually like turn them into the into the child in some respects. So that was I guess humorous in a way, but ultimately the only thing they say, if something doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, kind of thing. I would say this is true, but maybe not so true. The thing that I did learn is about civil procedures and how these types of things work. I think that there is a benefit to that, but I would have rather not went through it. But at least now I'm not scared of civil lawsuits. Have you guys been sued by any frivolous lawsuits? Let me know in the comments below, and follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Steam it. See you guys.